Alright, what's going on, guys? This is GLG Garrett. Doing a quick video today on my Doflamingo deck. I went 8-2 at the online regionals through Carta Magica. I ended up placing 33rd, and so I was able to get my nationals invite. So I'm pretty excited. I'll just talk over some of my matchups. Some like small decision points for me in the deck. Things maybe that I would change or stuff like that. So let's just go ahead get right into the deck profile. Alright, so getting into the deck, obviously we have our leader, Doflamingo. I think that it's still really strong right now. Even after the Jinbei ban, I think that it has a lot of answers to a lot of decks. I think it has like a very high ceiling of play, and yeah, I think it's just gonna continue to be like a relevant deck going forward. So we'll start off with some of the one drops. For Peronas, I feel like is necessary to me, like getting the knowledge of top of deck. So either one, you could stack it with, so you could play off leader, or just knowing what you're drawing into even, or what you're not drawing into. Perona sometimes for me is like a way to find things like Jozu and stuff since it's not searchable with Sengoku. We're running 4 Sengoku also. But Perona's, yeah, like I said, a way for me to find those key cards in matchups where I know I'm going to need it. So if I, check top 5 and there's no Jozu, and I know I'm going to need it and say like against Bonnie or something, then I'm just going to have to bottom deck that stack. So things like that. I think Perona is like just an invaluable card. And I think it'll always be, at least in my builds, it'll always be a 4 of. We're also running 3 buggies, which I know like a lot of people will run 4 buggies, and that's people tell me that it needs to be a 4 of. But I can honestly say that I don't know if I've ever lost the mirror match, honestly. And so I take that as like, I have confidence in the cards that I put into it and the deck that I build. So I mean, advice from other people is nice also, but I I've this is the first deck I ever played when we started the game in OPO 3, and so I feel like I have a good understanding of it. The reason I don't like Buggy is the inability to bottom deck those cards really bothers me. Sometimes I feel like it's just it's just like a redundant card to me. Sometimes you do need to know the stack if you don't want to blind, and it can be nice for that if you do hit something. But most of the time for me, it's just a 2K. I'll play it out just so I have something to bounce back with Law. And it just helps a little bit with the consistency. But yeah, I wasn't running this before, and I think just the slight bit of consistency it adds of always guaranteeing you have something to bounce back with Law or Jozu is super important. So there were times when I wasn't running this that I wouldn't really have like a good target to bounce back with Jozu, and it just makes things like complicated when it shouldn't be. So 3 is fine. I would actually, I think going forward I may actually just cut it to 2, but we'll see. Next I have just the 2Ks, or the rest of the 2Ks. So we have 3 buggies. I'm running 4 Mihawk, and I'm running 4 of the Crocodile. I think each can come up in their own special scenarios. But I think just having 4 of both is I I don't know. I see people run less, but it's just a 5k body that you can hit off leader ability. Mihawk has the added effect of being able to cycle on your turn, so to me it's like if I'm blinding into Mihawk, it probably my hand isn't that great. And so like certain matchups being able to like cycle out like red rocks and or like the 7-cost Doffy I'm running. I think it's pretty valuable. The Croc being able to return a 2-cost or less to hand, just it comes up occasionally. So yeah, I run these at 4 just because of the stat line. I used to play the Law, which I do really enjoy that card, but I think that if I would maybe just take out a Buggy for a Law. The 4-cost 4k Law. Just because situationally I really like that card. But yeah, having the 5k stat I think is just super important. Next, going into these are the cards that everyone is gonna run at 4. 4 Boa. Right? I mean, it speaks for itself. Like this is just the stats on this card are insane. Like what it does and the value you get off it is just like too good. So that's obvious 4 of Weevil. Also, obvious 4 of. This is like the card that you really want to see all the time, in my opinion. Just like the ability to play it for free and then draw a card is like insane. And if you're just cycling this, your hand size never dies, and you're allowed to like keep protecting this, and then you're just swinging for 6 every time. So yeah, you won't see anyone run this at less than 4. Next, Teach. 4 of. I'm pretty sure everyone runs Teach at 4 also now. The deck sort of revolves around this card in most matchups. It just like super accelerates what you're trying to do, being able to like play out essentially like an extra body every turn, or just having like 2 extra Dawn every turn to mess with. Is just like, if you think about like the efficiency of that, and like if you're having 2 extra Dawn every turn to do something, then you're just out pacing your opponent, because they're playing with 5 Dawn but you're playing with 7, or you know what I mean, stuff like that. So super strong. Next, Law. Also, everyone will have at 4. I mean, everyone knows why this card's good. Enough said about that. I'm running 4 of the Geckos, which I'd see most people run at 3 or 4. I think that this card's just super good in like being able to stay alive late game. Otherwise, if you're not running this, you can really just run out of steam if your top deck's not good and your hand's not good. But like Gecko will allow you to maybe grab a Boa, play Boa, and then hit leader effect. Sometimes if I have Teach on board, I'll play Gecko to grab Weevil, and then play play Weevil out off the Teach effect and leader effect. And essentially that was only 5 Dawn, right? So then I still have 5 Dawn left to mess around with. So I just think that this card's really good, helping you like maintain a good board state. I think running less than 4 is like crazy to me. Also, just at any point being able to just grab 2k counters from your trash is really good. So next I'm running 4 Jozu. Um, I think that this card's just like very good, specifically in Doflamingo. I think it's like insane. 'Cause you play so many like searchers and top deck checkers, I guess. And just being able to on play essentially replace itself in hand with one of these. So you're like net neutral in hand size, and then returning a opponent's 6 or less character is also like very strong. Um, I think that this just removes like a lot of relevant bodies that we care about. It's like super efficient. It works well with our curve. If you have teach out, you could do this on 7 and hit leader ability. Super strong. Even on 10, you can like play Perona, check top deck, Jozu, bounce it back, and then leader effect. It doesn't feel like as powerful, but you could still do it, and that's still a good turn, right? Because you established, a 6/7 and a 4K whatever, and you were net neutral in hand size, and so stuff like that. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of relevant bodies to bounce with Jozu. So I think it's like for me mandatory 4 of. It's just too relevant into too many matchups. Next, I'm running 3 Red Rocks. I think I see most lists run Red Rock at 3. I think that it's just like sort of the consensus that into like you need to have this to answer Kid, but also it helps a lot into Shanks and Blackbeard. I mean, if they play out Teach and you were just Red Rocket, that feels pretty good. Into Shanks, I like to, if I have this, or I definitely want to see 1 or 2 of these. Like 2 would be ideal. And I'll Red Rock the first big body they played. So if they play out like in a perfect world, right? If they play out like Dragon or Rayleigh on 8 or 9 Dawn, I'll just Red Rock it. And I won't like save it for the 10 cost because I kind of realized that it almost prevents them from playing 10 cost because that 10 cost turn is that much weaker, right? If they have nothing else on board. So, right, like imagine they keep Dragon and you spend this Dawn like building board again or whatever else. And that's the other problem too, is the board you're building at that point is not that strong in comparison to what they have. So I'll just Red Rock that and then continually attack their leader. So that way when they drop the 10 cost Shanks, they're effectively only clearing like 1 character, which like to them might deter them from playing it. Also, there's the chance I just have another Red Rock, which kind of just seals the game. So yeah, that's like a useful thing that I realized through playing more. Just use it when you have it. I wouldn't, if you have a good time to play it, I would just play it because it ends up it's just as good to, you know what I mean? Okay, next I have 4 one-ofs in the deck, but to me, 3 of them are kind of doing the same thing, so it doesn't really feel like a one-of, but they're, 3 different cards, so I guess we start with Law. Just the blocker Law. I recently added this after I saw people running Law. I tried it out, because I've tried this in the past, but I think like with black being so relevant, it just never really like felt like a very good card. But have realized now like this Law in the mirror match can just help you save one of your bodies like almost kind of for free, which like saving 1 body and not like dumping your hand ends up making a huge difference tempo wise. And then into things like Shanks, being able to like protect your Jozu and stuff from their like 10 cost, right? Like so on that, if they drop dragon on 8, right? Like, and I said you like red rocket. So that's 6 Dawn, and then using one Dawn. Ideally, if you have Teach, I mean, you can use Teach to get leader effect, so that would be 7. So you'll still have like 2 Dawn to mess around with. And you could use one of those to play Law, and that it helps like way more than you think. Just the quick chump blocker. I almost want to run it at 2, but instead I'm running 1 7-cost Doffy, which I think you could probably take this out now. My thought process with this card, in my previous list I was actually running Mihawk, 9-cost Mihawk. I switched to this because it felt like it was a lot more playable, versus Mihawk felt super situational on when I could actually get it out. It is good into Shanks if you see it on curve. It's good into like any green deck, and that's I mean, the green, I was worried about Bonnie, and so that's why I was playing this. It helps in the mirror match. There's like just certain niche scenarios where being a 7-cost that bounces a opponent's 7-cost is good. I think you could switch this out for Law, honestly, and be like slightly more low to the ground, rely more on your Jozus. But to me, it's like almost an extra copy of Jozu. But I saw them when I needed to see them. Like, this never felt like a dead card in hand. And this is definitely never dead in hand. You just play it out for the chump blocker. And then lastly, I have 1 Gravity Blade and then 1 3000 Worlds. And like I said, these are almost like, in my mind, like the same. The reason I switched to 1 3000 Worlds is I felt like there were a lot of situations where Gravity Blade, I was using it just to specifically get rid of 1 body, and then like there was like some chump blocker or something, just like catching a stray bullet sort of thing. I liked how cheap this was and how I could like use this and still do like a lot of other things on my turn, versus Gravity Blade like really restricts you on what else you could do with that turn. So I really like this list. Obviously it did pretty well for me, and it's done pretty well for me in the past. So like I said, I put a lot of time into this. I think possible changes, I like every ratio except I would maybe reduce Buggy to 2, and I would maybe take out this Doffy. But other than that, I would keep Law, I would keep this split. Everything else is fine. So these are just the 2 that I'm not sure about, and I feel like they're like it's like very small decisions for the deck. All right, I mean, you think about, there's only 2 cards, so I don't know. We'll see. Going into matchups, round 1 I played Lucci, and I went first. I was kind of worried about that matchup. I just felt like ever since we lost Jinbei, it's been pretty tough. But he didn't see like his Utas, and that kind of just makes the game a lot more winnable as a Doffy player. So we won that. Second round I played the mirror match, and I went second. I also ended up winning that one. I think going second slightly better, but I feel like he was a very good player, and he made some really good plays that it made the game close. That's super close. So yeah, I ended up grinding that one out. Third round was a red-green smoker, and I went second. And basically, like with Doffy, you pretty much prefer to go first, at least with this build. And for me, I prefer to go first in every matchup except for the mirror. So if I went second, it wasn't my choice. So yeah, so I went second. That was also a pretty close game. But at the end, I kind of like put him in a position where he had to go for game, and I just had a ton of counter in hand. So, uh, yeah, that was well played. He didn't play Kid, so yeah. Round four, I played a purple Luffy, and I went second. I don't remember that game too well. I think that I was able to establish Teach. I think turn one I Sengoku searched out Law, and then played Teach on 4 to bounce back his Zorojiro. And then, like that, just being able to get that off changes the tempo in your favor, like, pretty heavily. So I ended up winning that one. I think I had like 6 life at the end of the game. But oddly enough, I think that if the game went on very much longer, I think he could have started to turn things around in his favor. Um, so I'm glad I didn't, because I was kind of like running low on cards in hand. I think I was just living off the top deck at that end part of the game. So round 5, I played a Bonnie, and I went first, and I won. I'm pretty sure I played out like 3 Josus. And I was like consistently able to clear his board every turn. So it was pretty crazy. There was a turn where I had 3,000 worlds on 10 Dawn, and I went 3,000 worlds for 4, and then Josu for 6 to clear both his bodies. So that felt pretty good. Yeah, I think if you see enough of these, then you're in a good spot. And then the other thing is, like, Teach helps a lot in that matchup, but oftentimes, like, a really good well, I'm not saying that my opponent wasn't really good, but what well educated. I don't know how to say that, but certain Bonnie players will not use their searcher right away, so that on my 3 Dawn turn they have an active Dawn, so they can rest my Teach, which is I think makes a huge difference. So for any Bonnie players out there, a word of advice. So he searched on his 2 Dawn turn. So on 3, I was able to play Teach and Weevil, and then leave Teach active, so it gets like the extra value every turn. And then so I ended up winning that one. The next round I played a Blackbeard, and I went first. I had Perona in my starting hand. Oh, I lost. I had Perona in my starting hand, and I searched top 5, and it was a pretty bad top deck. I think it was like Crocodile, Teach, 2 Buggies maybe, and maybe a Josu, something. I should have bottom decked it, but I hate like blinding in that matchup. I feel like if I blind and whiff, it sets me back pretty far. But looking back, because I kept that top deck and then I was drawing not that many cards, I never ended up seeing Red Rock or Gravity Blade 3,000 Worlds. So his Burgess stuck, his Tenkoth stuck. So I lost. It was a bummer, but I feel like I learned from that. Just, if the top deck's not what you want exactly, prioritizing like seeing removal. So next round I played a Usopp, and I lost. I went second. He saw like a very good curve, like opening with stage and searches into Zoro into Kyros. I felt like it was a pretty close game. I got Josu out on 6, and then I played Doffy out on 8, which he wasn't really able to remove, and I got him to I think I got him down to no life, and I had 2 life and a blocker, and I played out this law blocker, and basically I knew, like, if he can't deal with the law blocker, I win. But he played out Gyatz, the 2K counter, so he could attack into this, and then he got the double attack off into my leader, and then it was just kind of wraps from there. So he played it really well. I feel like it was a close game, um, but that's just like a very difficult matchup for Doffy. Um, I think like getting out Jozu and stuff's important because it's not as easily removed. Um, the next round, let's see, so that's the 8th round. I played a yellow kid, and I won. I went second. It wasn't a matchup that I was super familiar with, but it felt like it wasn't. I feel like I remember seeing that was like a losing matchup for Doffy, but it felt pretty. And I'm not saying this to like any offense to anybody, but it felt like a pretty easy matchup. You just can kind of aggro them down, and you draw so many cards. They attack your life, you just take it. You know, I I felt like it was pretty easy. The next round I played, so round 9, I played a Shanks, and I went second, and I won. Um, I think I Jozu'd on 6, which doesn't always feel great in that matchup because you don't get to hit like leader building and stuff, but like being able to bounce their Luffy back to hand and whatnot, and like set them back a turn is pretty good. Sorry. And the last round I played a Shanks, and I went first, and I won. I felt like that was like the most high rolly game I've ever had, where I just saw every card I needed to see on curve, and there was like nothing he could really do about it. So, which doesn't usually happen for me. So it felt kind of good, and it just felt like especially at the end of the day, round 10, when like, there's things on the line. It was kind of like nice and peaceful that the deck just kind of played itself. It didn't let me down. And yeah, so 8-2 was my final record, 33rd place. I played a different matchup every round except for the last one where I played back-to-back Shanks. So it was really cool to see so many different leaders and like get experience playing into all of them at like a high level. Yeah. So other than that, I plan to continue to play Doffy. I haven't practiced too much into EBO2. I don't like to play this deck on the sim too much, just because I feel like I don't think like enough when I'm on the computer, and there's like certain positions you could be in with this deck where you really have to think pretty hard or remember your top deck, or think about, do I bottom d- do I or do I bottom deck this deck, do I keep it, can I work with it, things like that on the sim. It's hard to think about. But yeah, I have a lot of fun playing Doffy. I stopped playing it when the starter deck came out because it felt like it was just too strong to me with also having Jinbei. And it just wasn't fun. I felt like you can really just high roll somebody right out the gate. Teach into Jinbei into Weevil on 3 Dawn is like absurd, and then you swing, and then pudding. It's just kind of like, it was kind of stupid. But honestly, that's how I felt. When a deck is too good, it's not fun to play against. You don't feel good about like winning really. So I like it now. I still think it's very strong, but it's a lot more balanced. And I think like the ceiling, like I said, the ceiling for this deck is really high. So we'll see how it does EBO2, and yeah, really excited to go to nationals. Hopefully I see some of you guys there if you watch this channel. And that's gonna be it for today. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and GLG out.